It's time to dust off your Instant Pot because today we're going to make Instant Pot beef stew. All the flavors of slow cooked beef stew, but super simple and quick in your Instant Pot. Hi, I'm Carrie with eatingonadime.com. We're on a mission to help families eat well on a budget. I hope you're loving our videos. Today's recipe, you can find it linked in the description below, or you can always go to eatingonadime.com. You can also just go to Google and type in Eating on a Dime Instant Pot Beef Stew, and it should pull right up for you. Now, I do also have my Instant Pot linked for you. I'm using an 8-quart Instant Pot, but a 6-quart will work as well. I just tend to go with the 8-quart since my family is larger, and so I can fit more food in it just for a larger family. So my recommendation is if you have a really small family, stick with a 6-quart. But if your family gets big or you want to use it for like parties, go ahead and take a splurge a little bit more on the 8-quart. Now, before we get started, I did also want to let you know that if you actually love using your Instant Pot and you're tired of trying other people's recipes that don't really work in the Instant Pot, we actually have a digital cookbook for you, and it's on sale right now. I have it linked in the description below for you as well. It's 100 Instant Pot recipes that I think you're gonna like. Now, the first thing we're gonna do is the hard part, which is peeling and chopping up carrots and potatoes. It's not hard, hence the quotes. Now, you're gonna need about 3 carrots. I am doing 4 carrots because they weren't really that big, but we're gonna peel them and then we're gonna chop them up into large pieces. Then you're also going to need 3 russet potatoes. I really like russet potatoes the best. I think they hold up the best in the stew, but red potatoes work great. Yellow baby potatoes are awesome too, and you can totally do that, especially if you're doing baby potatoes, because you can just throw them in without having to do any peeling or dicing. Now, if you like the peel on the potatoes, you don't even have to peel them. Just do them a quick wash and you're good to go. But my kids might yell at me if I leave the peels on. So I'm going to get these all peeled, and then I'll show you how we're going to chop them up. I got my potatoes and my carrots peeled, so let me show you how we're going to chop these up. We want them into pretty big pieces. If your carrots are not too thick, you don't even have to cut them in half. I'm going to do about 2-inch pieces, and then if they get a little too big for you, you can cut them in half lengthwise like that. So that way, you know, they're perfect for your bite. The reason we like them a little bit bigger in a beef stew versus a soup is that stew meat, we got to cook this long enough for that stew meat so we don't want our veggies to just become mush. So we want, since we're not doing like a ground beef or a chicken, we're going to keep them quite larger so that way they don't fall apart. I got the carrots done, so now we're going to do the potatoes. Now the potatoes, the same thing, we want it a little bit larger. I usually cut them in half lengthwise, and then lay them down flat, and then cut them into like thirds. Now, if the potatoes are bigger, you can cut them in half again to make them smaller. So we're going with like fork size, that you can eat them with a fork. They're gonna be super tender that you can break it apart and make it smaller with a fork. But a stew, generally, they're a little bit bigger, just because we don't want them to fall apart. Now we're just gonna add 3 pounds of some stew meat. You don't have to really have it layered. It can be stew meat first, potatoes or carrots, whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Can you brown your stew meat? Yes. And actually you can brown it in the Instant Pot on a saute setting, but I find I don't really need to. It brings out a little bit more flavor, but I'm here for a quick and easy dinner, and so I'm just throwing it in. You do you, nobody's gonna judge you, okay? Now we gotta add in an onion. A half of an onion, so I'm going to save the other half for another recipe. And then you're just going to chunk it. You could dice it up really small, but I kind of like them in bigger pieces because I just love the flavor of the onion. So I'm just running my knife through a couple times and then just separating them in the Instant Pot. Now that I got the onions in, we're going to do some salt and pepper. Oh, here it is. About a half a teaspoon, but you know, I always like to test it when it comes out and then decide if I need more salt and pepper. Like I kind of like my stew with some extra pepper, but that's just my personal preference. We're going to throw in a can of crushed tomatoes. This is just a regular can. You could do tomato sauce if your kids are super picky, or you could even do diced tomatoes. Those would be great too. Stewed tomatoes would be delicious. Pop that in. And then we are going to throw in 2 bay leaves. Super important. Right on top. And 2 cups of water. Now you could do beef broth or bone broth too if you would like to. But since this is going to have that slow cooked taste, you really don't have to. We're going to add the lid. And then I'm going to turn this on. Oh, I'm going to have to go up a little bit. I hate it when it does that. Okay, then we're going to go to high pressure for about 20 minutes. Make sure it's set to sealing on the top. So the valve, it turns around and make sure it's set to sealing. And then we just walk away. So I'm going to clean up my mess, and I'll see you back in probably close to an hour. This is 20 minutes cooking time, but it has to come to pressure, which is about 20 minutes for it to come to pressure. But that's what I love so great is you can get home at work at like 5 p.m. You can start this, go about your evening, and you don't have to watch it is what I mean, like on a stovetop or an oven. You can just set it and forget it. So I'll see you soon. Okay, now it's finished. It's hard for you to see, but it says L low and it says 6. It's been 6 minutes. You don't have to wait that long. I just wasn't paying attention. Then you're just going to come to the top, push it over the benzene, and be careful because this is really hot, and we're going to let this. It's called a quick release. If you see on a recipe that says natural release, you will just leave this and it will slowly release. But we're doing a quick release for this recipe. Now that the all the steam is out and the pressure has been released, you'll be able to unlock the lid. So if you can't move the lid, it's because it hasn't finished. Okay. Sometimes there's condensation, so I kind of drop it in there. Move this out of the way. Then I'm just going to give it a quick stir. Smells really good. Everything looks tender and delicious. You can go ahead and remove those bay leaves when you see them. It looks really good. Now, I just serve it just like this, but you can also thicken up the sauce by doing a cornstarch slurry, or even like a flour slurry. But what that means is you're just going to take like a 1/4 cup of water and a couple tablespoons of cornstarch, mix it together, and then pour it in here, and then let it cook, and it will thicken up. But I kind of like my stew a little bit runnier. So look, there's another bay leaf, the last one. But look, it's just beautiful. It's tasty. Excuse my puppies, they're excited. Super simple. Now I had to switch to the ladle because I love my spoon, but it wasn't just the angle. I couldn't get enough liquid out, and I like the liquid in my stew because I love like having cornbread or some saltines and dipping it into that sauce. It's so good and simple. The last thing I need to grab, hold on, let me grab my salt and pepper. I don't know about you guys, but I love some fresh salt and pepper grinded right on top. I'll put a link to these. These are so cool because it's Gravity. They're on Amazon. They're so inexpensive. It's a great gift idea. Or just put it on your wish list. My mom had actually gifted my kids that because I thought they were so cool. And so we use them all the time. Ooh, it's hot. Very, very good. Very good. Big fan. I just realized as I was using this, I forgot to add the Worcestershire sauce to it. Classic Carrie. It's still delicious without it, but adding Worcestershire sauce in there, and since we're not going to eat for another hour or so, I'm probably going to just dump that in. But it's just a 1/4 cup of Worcestershire, so if you don't have it, it still tastes delicious. But it just dawned on me that I forgot. Crazy Carrie, what are you going to do, right? You guys still love me, right? Let me know below. Also, guys, I love hearing from you and reading your comments or replying to your comments. So I want to know how you like your beef stew. Like, do you like other things in it? I know some people put green beans in it. I've done that before. I love that. Some people have done peas in that. That's also delicious. Perfectly tender. Okay, I had to finish chewing. Guys, thanks so much for joining me. Dinner does not have to be complicated to be delicious. Hopefully you've been watching for a while and you know that by now, that simple, affordable meals can be delicious and not have to spend a ton of time in the kitchen. And this recipe is exactly that. Serve it with some homemade cornbread or, like I said, some saltines, and dinner is done. If you need a homemade cornbread recipe, I love our cornbread and I have that linked for you as well. Plus that Instant Pot. Don't forget, it's half off right now, so that Instant Pot cookbook of 100 recipes is half off. So if you're interested in that and you love your Instant Pot as much as I do, you're gonna wanna check that out. And the recipe, that's down there too. Okay guys, I'm out of here. Thanks so much for joining me for another recipe. I hope I inspire you to make something easy and delicious. Oh, let's take a bite. For your family. So good, guys. Okay, I'll see you next time. Bye, friends.